This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
The morning session is about to begin, and in fact, it's going to begin within about 10 minutes or so. But everybody has been lining up. The theater seats 800 people, which is why the limit of the registration is 1,600, so they can have two sessions. We have one more session in the morning, and contiguous with this, we have another group of 800 who are meeting for some shorter lectures, 3 different lectures. You get a choice of 2 out of 3. And this afternoon, I'll be going to hear that too, and I'm going to go and try catch Charlie Fry as one of those. But right now, I'm sitting next to a friend of mine who you perhaps have heard if you followed us on Magic and Martinis Thursday during COVID. This is one of the hardest working trade show guys you're going to meet right here is Scott Tokar. Hey there, Scott.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine, thank you. I remember also, I've got a DVD of yours that I think we may have talked about this briefly some time ago, that was about doing magic in hospitals. Because when I was doing something back when pre-COVID, we were doing things like at the Children's Hospital and things, and doing walk-around. You had some great ideas. Who was the other guy who was working with you?
Harrison Carroll.
Harrison, that's right.
Yeah, out of Buffalo. Mm-hmm. It's not really intended for magicians. It's really more intended for the clinician.
Yes.
The idea behind it is to teach doctors and nurses how to break the ice and build rapport by using magic and objects found in and around the exam room.
Like their latex, or not latex, but their gloves, rubber gloves.
Well, actually, for some of them, they are latex. And I explain that as I teach it today.
Cut and restored stethoscope.
Yes.
I did that, too.
Exactly. That's a great, and I've got some tips on that one now, too, in my lecture.
Okay.
But, they're all objects like needles and gloves and otoscopes and stethoscopes and tongue depressors to make that magical in doctors' hands. So if they have a timid, scared, especially young patient, grab a tongue depressor, it becomes a paddle move, and I teach a couple of different paddle tricks using that in a really easy to way to understand. But I've had a lot of hospital clowns and a lot of folks that are volunteering in the hospital use it as well.
Well, I have a gown, actually, that has the name Scott Wells Magician on it, and I put a stethoscope around my neck and I had my pockets filled with stuff. So when I would go into a room, I figured that these children, every time they see someone with a white coat come in, it's like, oh, he's going to stick me with a needle or poke or prod me. I want them to feel as if there should be some joy in their heart, and I wanted them to have a positive look when someone with a white coat comes in. Then they're going to have some fun, possibly.
That is awesome. That's great.
And I feel like that I kind of achieved that goal. And, you always walk into every room with a smile on your face. You don't want to look depressed whenever that you go in of like, oh boy, this is going to be a hard one or whatever.
Well, I tell clinicians all the time, there's been studies that say that if you walk into a room and sit on the bed to engage with the patient, the time spent with them is perceived as tripled. So
really?
Every minute
That's
equals 3 minutes in their mind of recall.
Yeah.
So when you do a magic trick, when you do something totally separate, remember, if I fool someone, they're thinking about that trick for an hour later.
Sure.
So the visit seems like an hour because you did something so different and fun.
Part of the reason I think also, Scott, that it seems like it might last longer than it actually did is because you got to remember when you go in there that sometimes these children in particular are medicated, and so they're really not kind of with it. But think that you're also entertaining and not just performing for the family and the people who are friends and staying there, because they've been going through a lot, and they're trying to keep up also, and so this is really more for them, and they can talk about that for the next days, with their child about, oh, look at this experience we just had.
Exactly.
Wasn't that great when the magician did such and such?
And that's why it's fun to leave a tongue depressor with them or something, because then it reminds them of that visit.
Well, that's part of the thing is you can't touch things. So that's why sponge balls, you can't do sponge balls in hospitals, because or even card tricks. You can't pick a card. If you do, you got to leave the card. I can't have you sign the card because they don't want to spread one germ to the next room or whatever.
Right.
So I'll just say, what is your name? And I would then sign their name on the card.
Jeff McBride talks about gifting.
Yes, gift magic.
And I think that's one of the most brilliant things he's ever come up with and said. And I follow through that, not just in the hospital and side effects, but by the way, the name of the product, if your thing is Side-FX.
And where can they get that?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. The videos, I'm releasing them every once in a while on YouTube. So, hey, all of my magic listeners there, you don't need to go and buy the DVD. Just but the book has like 101 tricks in it, extra stuff.
Yeah.
That's available on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, here we are at Magic Live, and I see you regularly, coming to these then as well. And we never know what's going to be happening or who's coming up next. It's always exciting. And aside from the wonderful subject we're going to be learning and seeing, is there anything you're looking forward to about why you came?
This is Old Home Week. Of the magic conventions, I see more professional, full-time magicians at this convention than anywhere else. So it's really fun to bump into these people and find out how things are going. And I mean, we keep up with each other on social media and maybe phone calls, but it's always so great to just, hug someone and say hi to them.
That's a good point, being able to hug someone, because, for so many years that we couldn't. So this way we really get to see somebody and spend some quality time then with them then as well. And I also know that it's, again, something that we have been looking forward to all year long. One of the, it's the elephant in the room. I mean, it's the biggest thing going all year long. I mean, the largest convention in the U.S.
This in Blackpool, that's the ones that I think of when I think of these massive conventions. Yeah.
But you're talking about the people that we see. One of the reasons I think they have this during the weekday is because that's why we do see a lot of professional magicians, because a lot of the guys who are doing magic, maybe part-time pros, amateurs or whatever, but they're doing shows on the weekends. People like you and some others are doing trade shows. It's kind of hard for them to
it's a little harder,
off.
But this is summer, and summer is usually my slow season.
Yeah.
I just came back from a 5-city sales meeting tour in the Midwest in July. That's unheard of. Wow. Everything is going great this year.
Do you feel like things have picked up considerably, obviously, after COVID?
Way. The trade shows are at capacity. The sales meetings are back. The activations, because I'm doing all commercial activations for companies at special events, like golfing and motorcycle rallies and tennis matches and things like this where they want something special.
Right.
So my company, Corporate Effects, is the one that does that. Wow. I was thinking at the beginning of the year that this would equal 2019. We have surpassed 2019 already right now.
In August, yeah. Awesome. Well, Scott, always good to see you as well.
Great to see you.
I always like seeing your pictures on Instagram with everybody that got their hands up and everything.
That's kind of a signature, yeah.
It is signature for you. You need to follow him on Instagram. What is your
Just
handle?
Scott Tokar, SCOTTTOKAR.
There you are. Be sure and follow him. Like and subscribe. There we go. Same thing with this podcast. Do that too. So with the Magic Word Podcast. That was my buddy, Scott Tokar. Scotty out.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, boy. Everybody get a good night's sleep? I had great intentions, and then I found this little magic shop upstairs. Imminent failure, all lost. Well, I'm Stan Allen, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Las Vegas, and welcome you to the Orleans Hotel. Welcome to Magic Live! This is the fun part. The dry erase boards come to life. We find out if it was really a good idea or not. So we'll all learn that together. I do want to just say that one of my favorite parts of Magic Live started at the very first one, and that's these general sessions. And Rick Gerber and his crew, they're all set for us, and we got 3 wonderful days of them, and they're just my favorite. I love them all. So I'm going to get out of your way and just say, enjoy.
Again, it's just this is just a powerhouse of people who are here, and it's amazing to see so many people that come to this convention that we don't get to see very often. However, this is a gentleman that we get together from time to time because he attends almost as many conventions as I do, it seems like. He doesn't just attend, he's performing. Here he is, Michael Ammar. Hey, Michael.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Fantastic. Yeah, we were at earlier when I saw you this year.
up at Vectors, was it?
Yeah, we had 4F also, but there was another convention. It wasn't the Winter Carnival, but there was. You had another convention you did this year.
Yeah, the conventions kind of blur together.
Yeah. Is there one that stands out? I mean, why do you come to Magic Live? I mean, are you performing?
Well, this is one of the rare cases where I just want to come and hang out. Mm-hmm. I get to perform it enough to kind of scratch my convention itch,
Yeah.
So I don't often just decide to go. Mm-hmm. But a gathering like this, every time you turn a corner, you find somebody that you're happy to talk to.
It is, yeah, and that's the darn thing is that I feel so very fortunate, first of all, to have friends like you and others that we can sit and chat with, but number two is to have this podcast that I can actually talk.
You just hit... Huh? I just felt a spray of something.
Something...
That was weird.
Okay. Okay.
Like a
maybe
water
some squirt gun or something.
I hope.
Yeah, hope so. That I was saying about how that there are so many people here that I have an opportunity to record with the podcast so we can spend at least 5 or 10 minutes of some quality time together. Because usually everybody you see, like at the bar last night or wherever, it's like, hey, Mike, and say, oh, there's Jamie and Swiss, oh, there's Belichick, so you're talking to everybody.
This gives you this gives you a chance to really find some quality time. One person at a time, which a lot of people don't get to do. A lot of times they're just passing in the hallway.
So I wanted to ask you about you and Hannah still doing or are you and Hannah still doing the seances? What am I trying to say? The midnight seances? I mean the spirit cabinet.
We'd love to.
During COVID, I guess you probably haven't since.
Poised to do it at the Magic Castle, March 16th.
What a famous day that was in 2020,
and March 15th they closed the castle. But that was the experience we were looking for. We always did it as a one-off thing.
I remember that was the very first show I went to the castle, and I did see Francis and Glenn doing that on the stage.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is great. First time. Anyhow.
Well, one thing about that act is it's just been honed over 80 or 90 years and hundreds of thousands of performers. So they've really isolated the best bits, and it's just structured so well. But we would always do it as a one-off, it takes 2 or 3 months to gear up for something like that. Because it's really
unless
a
you do it on a regular
thing.
basis,
So you do it once, and they say, that was great. Then you don't do it again for 2 years, 3 years, and it's like starting over every time.
Uh-huh.
But the chance to have done it 21 times in a week, that would have, now you've hit your stride with it, and you worked out all the little kinks, where everything's got to be to make everything work. And
obviously there are some timing things between the two of you. I mean, in which she has to have
it's a surprising amount of stuff going on, to make it look like nothing's going on.
Sure.
That's where a lot of work goes into making it seem like you just open and close the curtain, and all this stuff happens, and that choreography and all the props you use, whether it's the pie pans or the bells or the hammers, or the bucket that ends up on the guy's hands, all of that's got to be very specific, special kind of stuff. Yeah. Even the tacks that nail the cloth into the board, are a special kind that are easy to handle. And
I hadn't really thought about that. And the wood probably has to be soft enough, to
the
get
base
a nail in.
has to be a certain thing. The backboard has to be a certain thing. Is the lighting important or not? Every little detail matters on that. And the lighting, less so. It's not dependent on lighting.
Okay. So you can pretty much work anywhere.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a 360-degree illusion.
Have you ever had to work in a theater? I'm thinking about Subtrunks, for an example. There's something, you might be giving an instructional view for the balcony, so do you just kind of move it upstage?
We haven't had that experience, but that's... I seem to recall Francis commenting on a time when there was like a 2 or 3 balcony thing, and it just really is a different experience. Looking down on the spirit cabinet, it's a whole different show.
That's what I'm thinking. If you move it too far upstage, they can't see anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and but it's a very intelligent construction the way they do it. I mean, this is a full. It looks like a full room on stage, but really it's just a metal frame and curtains. So it plays very big.
It looks like a lot to travel with.
But it actually packs up pretty small. I mean, the pipes...
Telescoping kind of.
Yeah, and they all kind of go together a certain way.
Probably the heaviest part's the curtains.
It is, yeah. So it's a very thick curtain because, even the pulling of the curtain, it's a certain type of rings that make a certain kind of sound.
That's true.
and stuff like that. So every little detail... on that, to a surprising extent.
And Glenn had worked that all out with, well, I guess Frances.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Frances was doing it first, obviously, it was her dad's.
Yeah.
And Willard's. And so then she taught that to Glenn when they got married?
Exactly.
Or how'd that work out?
Exactly.
Okay.
And how what they call front the cabinet. To be the guy that pulls the curtain and opens and closes the curtain. And
because her mom did that before, is that right? When she traveled with Harry Willard, or
she took over when her mother passed.
Okay,
being in the cabinet,
right? But her mom was in the cabinet. What
was
I was
in
saying
the cabinet before that.
Initially,
right? Yeah. And so it's and if it was just another effect, it wouldn't be that important to us. But the history makes it really significant.
Like if I were to do that, it's not the same as you and Hannah doing it. I mean, because she's the Willard family.
Yeah, both for the audience and for us.
Exactly.
Yeah. That history thing makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Very rare 3 and 4 generation things going on in American magic.
That's right. So, are you going to be passing this on?
Oh wow! The children. We got to.
I mean, how much interest do they have in magic?
I wouldn't
count on that.
I wouldn't count on it at this point.
Okay.
But you can never tell.
Yeah.
Never say never.
I don't think Harry Blackstone Jr. was interested in magic until later.
Until late in the game, right. So never say never.
Yeah. So you guys might be gone in the future and saying, Mom and Dad really did something cool. I think I want to do that.
Well, maybe we should tie each other up and nail ourselves to a board. There must have been something to that. I don't know.
Right. Must have been something to that. Well, I was kind of wondered about that, and so I appreciate that. Well, Michael, as always, good talking to you, man.
My pleasure, Scott.
I'm enjoying this convention on so many different levels, and it's always good to see friends like you. So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Michael Ammar. Scotty out. We just finished the final evening show for the first day, and this is not completed the first day because there's so many different activities and there's just not enough room for everybody to be seated and all these things, and the logistics has to be a nightmare that Stan goes through all this time because some of us were seeing the evening show, and next year at about 10:30 in about another couple hours I'm going to go see the Ben Seidman show, and some of those people who saw his show earlier are going to be going into the theater, and there's still something else going on and people having dinner, and I'm here right now with Connie Boyd.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. I'm just trying to keep things sorted, whoever one is I'm seeing even.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing so many people. This is just an amazing convention.
It is, and I've met so many people that I met at FISM that are here as well, and you can see there's sort of a camaraderie that you every time you see them, that you sort of have an ongoing relationship, so it's really special.
It really is, and that's something about this convention because there are so many people that do come here that also attend the other conventions, whereas whenever you attend some sort of a regional, local, or statewide convention, that's the only convention some people go to. So when I go and see those people, it's only at that convention. Here, I run into people that I have seen at the IBM or SAM or other conventions, Blackpool or wherever, So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great mix of people, and I don't have a lot of experience with conventions because when I was working all the time, and it was very not cost effective to bring magic or illusions to a convention. So I really don't have a lot of experience with it. Really, last year at FISM was the first convention I had been in, I don't know, over 20 years, probably plus.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy them, and particularly at this convention, the dealer's room is exceptional, and so it's just a really buzzing place. That's the happening place. So if you have nothing to do, that's the place you go and you meet somebody and have some fun.
Did you buy anything or see anything that struck your fancy?
I'm not shopping, and I did find some things that struck my fancy, and I'm trying to resist. But I honestly, my hand was in my bag for my wallet today.
Yeah.
So if I can.
So what was it, or what are they?
Well, there's a couple things. There's a couple mentalism things that work with apps on your telephone that I just find fascinating, and it's something also I want to research and investigate a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a few apps on my phone, and I've got so many that I've decided, okay, I'm not going to add any more because I really like the ones I do. And it's just that it's handy to carry that around and do something with my phone and the volunteer's phone and doing it in a very impromptu method. So you don't have to worry about carrying around cards or anything at all, And it's still amazing reading somebody's mind or doing something with an app,
That's exactly it. Like I'm not a close-up performer. I had a few close-up effects that I would perform if I was in an interview situation or somebody specifically asked me. But that was sort of the attraction today. When I watched that, I went, this would work anywhere, and it's so contemporary, and young and old would relate to it. And so, I think it's just fascinating.
Well, aside from that, we've had just a full day of activity. I really haven't talked with many people about the things. First of all, we had let's see, you're white, I'm purple, so you saw the session this afternoon. I saw the session this morning, and so we reversed positions to catch the other shows. So let me ask you about, let's see, which one did you see this morning as far as, there was Charlie Fry, John Bannon, and Ken Scott?
I saw Charlie Fry and Sherry, and I'm a big Charlie Fry fan. He's actually featured in Vanish International Magic Magazine. He's on the cover this month, and I wrote the articles for them. So I had a little bit of a heads up about the book and about the artwork for the book. But just seeing it, the book itself, and then listening to Charlie and how he is able to visually, comedically take magic to a different level and make it so highly entertaining. Just a little bit that he did with the sound effects and how, it's something so simple, and yet it made just a natural gesture be fun. It was funny. It gave it depth, and it's great. And it was John John
Bannon?
Yes, John Bannon.
Yeah.
And I watched his, and I found him really entertaining, and he said one or two of the tricks are going to be in the program here, so people that weren't able to, take note of it, they're going to be able to follow through with it. And so those were the two that I did. And then we watched the Lance Rich's Lance Rich this afternoon.
Right, yeah. As far as some of the things that are in the book, that is something nice that Stan gives everybody. At the end of the day, usually you get a program that actually lists not only who the people were, but like the tricks they will contribute, so you get a set of lecture notes kind of with everything then as well. And then in the general session, Lance Rich had started off with the Neon Nights, I believe it is, or Neon. What was it? The title of his book?
Wait a second.
Okay, I think it was called Neon Nights or something like that. Which the theme of this year's convention is called Beginnings, and it was great to have him kick that off because the beginning was with the Las Vegas, the very beginning back in the 1800s, basically. There's a copy. Neon Dreams. Had the neon right, but okay, there we go. That is a beautiful book.
It is stunning, yeah.
And in his presentation, again, he started from the very beginning of when they basically came out and it was a desert and everything, and then spoke highly of all the magicians, including yourself. What casino were you working, by the way, when you were here?
Well, I debuted in Las Vegas, my magic career, which is a little bit rare, and that was at the Riviera Hotel in the Splash Showroom. But probably the most notable show that I had for multiple years was in the Folies Bergère at the Tropicana Hotel. And after Lance Burton left the Folies Bergère and went to open his own show at the Hacienda and then Monte Carlo, I had been substituting for him for about 2.5 years before he left, and they offered me the job full-time when he did leave. And so it was a wonderful opportunity, and it also gave me the opportunity to expand, and I had access to the very best magicians in the world in Las Vegas. And so Mr. Shimada taught me my doves, and Daniel Cross taught me close-up, and Joni Spina worked with me for art design and artistically, and Don Wayne taught me my magic and how. And you
had the best at top of every one of those categories.
Yeah, so I was just extremely fortunate, and I come from classical ballet background.
Yeah.
So I trained with the National Ballet of Canada as a student, and we had the best teachers in the world. And when I started, I had a couple really bad missteps that cost me a lot of money. So I went back to my ballet roots and said, who is the best person at designing illusions? And who does it for David Copperfield? And they said, Don Wayne. So that's how, and I asked for his number, and I called him, and it was not easy. And he didn't take me as a student or as a client. I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
So he came in, I paid him to come in, he had studied everything, he gave me 3 pages of notes, he came back in 2 weeks, I had everything done. So he saw I was serious, and that's led to a lifetime of friendship and mentorism, and just he was brilliant, and I learned so much from him. And then from Don, I met Joni Spina, and Joni was working with David Copperfield at the time, and she came to see my show. I just put in a number which I called Floating and Flying, where I created it myself. And then Don came in later and helped me clean it up. But I created the method. I made the whole magic routine myself. And I would fly up to a ball at a certain specific time in the number. And Joni saw it and said, I have an idea. Would you allow me to direct it? And I said, you can do what you want. It was Joni Spina. I was just like, anything. And
really? Yes, please give me some advice.
Anything. And she changed. And I was the first magician she worked with other than David Copperfield. She was intrigued by a woman magician. And again, another lifetime of friendship with Joni. So, I had a great core group, and I just loved it.
What I hear you saying, and the lesson that I think people should take away from this, is not to be afraid to reach out and to ask someone for some help, because you might regret later, what could have been, and you're a perfect example of what happened and what you became, because you could have been another one of those stories of what could have been, but you are of what actually happened, because you did reach out, you did work with them, you looked for advice, and you were received with open arms.
Yeah, no, Scott, I think it's so important to have a core team, and I to this day, I still mentor people. I'm always trying to help. If I can help anybody in any way, I will. Most of my equipment that was in Europe in the big shows that we had pre-COVID and pre-pandemic, those shows don't exist anymore. So slowly things have been selling off, and some of the magicians have reached out to me, and they're like, "Well, we can't do it like you did it, but what do you think?" And we'll just brainstorm and come up with a different routine that will apply. And so they actually have now original material from something that existed. So it's fun. And I have great passion for it. People were really generous with me, and I try to be generous with others and to give back, because it's an art. Yes, and it's an art form. We want to promote the art. We want to promote the creativity. It's not everybody going and buying one trick and performing that trick in a very similar style. It's trying to find yourself as an artist and how you will perform something that's maybe adaptable or complements you as a performer.
And what I think you're doing is amazing. Also, to start to wrap up over here, is about the thing that you've been doing with women in magic for such a long time, and not just highlighting and focusing on women, but also encouraging others to see some examples of women who have gone before and have been successful, that they may not have heard of. It may be a little-known person, but it's still a strong personality that is making her way.
Yeah, fortunately and unfortunately, one of the things we've discovered is a lot of the female magicians were written out of magic's historic timeline, and the magic historians
like Gloria Day, who knew until a few years ago,
exactly.
Thanks to Lance.
She is the perfect example of that. And the magic historians are just brilliant in that they have been sharing all of their data and their information. So when I started trying to find information about Minerva or about Del O'Dell or about people were sending me tombs. What I had to weed through was remarkable, and I just adore the magic historians that are so generous with their time and their knowledge, and how enthusiastic they were that somebody was going to speak about them and include them and try to spread the story and to try to spread so that perhaps these women won't be forgotten.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it, that the spotlight you put on these ladies is phenomenal, and you're doing just the Lord's work here. You're doing something great. I think that's going to last for a long time because it'll be out there digitally. People can find that not only on YouTube, but you've got other places. So if people want to follow you and find out more information, where can they go?
Well, we have Connie Boyd. No, sorry, my website is connieboydmagic.com. But if you want to follow the Magical Women, we have the Magical Women YouTube channel.
Magical Women.
It's called Magical Women with Connie Boyd. Okay. We have monthly Magical Women articles in Vanish Magic magazine, and we have featured for the last 3 years. So that's over 36 magicians, many of whom have been on the front or back cover of the magazine.
Or both last month.
Yeah, both. In fact, last month we had Megan Swan, who is the current president of the Magic Circle, and Catherine Rhodes, that is the vice president of the Magic Circle. So they have made history.
Yeah.
And I think also for Vanish, it was the first time that they've had female magicians on the front and back cover. So it's remarkable, the quality of the talent that's out there right now, and it's inspiring. And I think we need to, of course, there's always going to be a gender or not, depending who you associate yourself with, but I think it's really important that it's the quality of your work, and that's what makes you, that is the most important thing in my opinion. And I hope we get to that point.
Yeah, so that there will be
no tokens.
That's right. Whatsoever.
People that merit.
That's kind of like Star Trek, like most of the utopians. It doesn't matter what color or alien you are or whatever, that we're all the same. We're all in this together. And so, hopefully.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Well, Connie, thank you very much for all that you do. I appreciate it. Good to talk with you.
It's a pleasure. I'm just in awe of all the podcasts that you have presented.
Thank you.
You do magic. You just honor it. It's
Mutual
great.
Admiration Society, So with the Magic Word Podcast, that's my friend Connie Boyd. Scotty out. Well, I want to thank Connie Boyd again for talking a little bit as we just started to get in actually a little bit of some of the shows that we had seen today. But I know what you listeners like, and I like to give you what you want. So I'm going to give you more of Marc DeSouza. Here he is.
Hey, Scotty, how you doing?
He and I always provide a little bit of color like we have at FISM and some other places, and we kind of go over. He keeps some copious notes on some of the acts, or all the acts, I guess, basically. And so we thought we'd kind of run through these things here a little bit. So this morning, mine was with the session. So let's start with the session, if we can, rather than
the general session.
The general session, which started then with Lance Rich.
Well, Julie Yang, first of all, you got to compliment her. She just does such a great job of hosting that event.
I forgot there was a Japanese guy who did the...
Right. There was a fellow who did what's commonly referred to as flow sticks.
Flow sticks? Okay.
Flow sticks, they call them in the juggling world. And they're lighted dancing canes, for lack of a better term.
And he's doing tumbling while he's doing this, and with a hula hoop.
And a hula hoop, it was great stuff. Peter Pitt would have loved it.
Yeah, and Ray Anderson.
But as you said, Lance Rich started off. He's got his new book out, Neon Dreams, which is the story of magic in Las Vegas. He did a well put together presentation, PowerPoint, video, just great stuff, and he really did so much research.
Brought in a lot of history. Because this is called Beginnings, it was great to have that beginning of Las Vegas.
It was the perfect opener. He was followed by Matt Pritchard from the UK, who has just been killing it on social media with some amazing illusions done with video. And he explained how some of these things work and showed a couple of things that he didn't explain. Very interesting, very entertaining, and just fascinating to hear how these things are put together. Just really cool. He was followed by our Paul Wilson, or as my wife calls him, our Paul Wilson, who did a wonderful talk on his new documentary on Juan Tamariz. And it was a great talk. It was great to hear him talking about working with Juan.
Are you in the movie?
On it. No, I'm not. No. But, Juan is just so well loved in the magic community, and he is just such a fascinating guy, and it's just so good that there'll be a documentary about his life. He's 80 years old now and retired from performing. So the time is right, but they got to finish up the film, and that's going to take funding. There's going to be a Kickstarter campaign for that, and my gosh, I hope they get that money so they can get the film out, because I know I want to see it. It's going to be great. And in the cleanup position, Simon Cornell, the expat Australian living in Los Angeles, FISM winner, Grand Prix FISM winner in close-up, Had a fascinating talk with Julie about kind of his life and preparing for FISM and not intending to go to FISM, but eventually deciding he was going to do that.
Right.
And it was a great talk. And then he finished by performing the FISM act, and it was great to see that for the third time.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. We covered that in more detail whenever we were in Quebec last year,
Exactly.
so you can go back and listen to.
Yeah.
It wasn't episode 6. I don't remember which one it was. That the 6th day. But it was earlier than that. Doesn't matter. Just go back and listen to them all.
Whatever.
So yeah.
And then we had the focus sessions, which are individual lectures. You only get to choose 2 out of 3. The one I didn't go to was the Ken Scott, Joe Romano, and John Abrams on 6-figure income doing family shows. I really don't do family shows, so I didn't go because I wanted to see John Bannon more. Because I need more card tricks.
That's exactly. I was the same way. I don't do children's shows or a rare family show, but same thing. I wanted to, and I did learn something from John.
Absolutely. John had a great lecture because it wasn't just card tricks. He was talking about some theoretical constructs of of any kind of magic, quite frankly.
And he was taking some of the classics and saying, well, I didn't like this or that about it, and I can get rid of a double card by just doing this or that, or some move or something that he added to it. Just brilliant thinking. He just sits and thinks deep on these things. Yeah.
Intelligent analysis of card magic, and his books are great. His material was great. And the lecture, I mean, every trick in there was a great trick. It was really cool. And the other one was Charlie Fry. Oh, my God. I think the lecture should have been titled Stuff You'll Never Be Able to Do. This
it was
guy,
just entertaining to watch him.
he is so talented. Yeah. He is so incredible.
Start with a movie video.
Oh, yeah, the videos of some of the things that he posted during the pandemic online, which were incredible. But he just ran through a whole gamut of juggling stuff, magic stuff, gag stuff. It was great. Standing ovation.
Yeah.
I mean, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal. He said, I'll take questions. I said, oh, can you talk about some billiard balls? Oh, sure. He did a full billiard ball routine. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, then this evening, I saw the evening show. Did you see the evening show?
No, I'm about to go
You
see
just saw
that
Ben
now.
Seidman then?
No, I didn't see Ben Seidman. I see him tomorrow night.
Okay. So what did you do?
So I had dinner, hung out with people.
Oh, you didn't have anything going on?
No, nothing going on tonight.
Okay.
So I saw the close-up show this afternoon. And am I allowed to talk about it because it's so early in the convention?
Let's talk about that later.
Okay.
I've got a full episode here already, and
good.
As some of these things kind of come together, we
Good.
can kind of compare notes also because the evening show was really good.
Good.
I think,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going down there to get in line.
And there's some FISM winners that are in there. So
I kind of figured that. I knew they were here.
it's going to be great. And so I've got Ben Seidman then in about
Good.
a half hour, so I'm
You'll
going to be
love
seeing
Ben.
him. I think it's going to be a wrap here for today. We had a lot of content. Actually, say a day. It was kind of pre-convention activity beforehand when we arrived in Las Vegas, and then that was kind of a full day yesterday because I kept running into everybody and wanted to say hi, and so wanted to share all that. And so tomorrow will be day 2 officially of the convention, and so be sure to come back and tune in for that. And then Marc and I will give you a little recap then later for what's been happening. So until then, that was Marc DeSouza. This is Scotty out. Good night, all.